This is If My People, Bible reading, part 65, beginning in chapter 21 or 22, 22, 25. I really like this part. We go through chapters 23, 24, 25, all up to 30 because it starts off with the royal Torah, following the royal Torah of hear and obey, obey my Shabbats, obey my appointed times and attend them. There's three times of the year, which would be Passover, which is the first fruits, which is for us, the passion of Yeshua and his death and his resurrection and his first being the first fruits, and then the days of Omer and the lifting and the waving of the sheaves, basically spending 50 days doing normal things, but just being very thankful and understanding that Yeshua came the first time and established his kingdom of priests, and then he's going to come back the second time, uh, representing in the fall, the Feast of Tabernacles, when we were all together, and he established his government, which will last forever on this earth until this earth is destroyed. And we, the people, and those who are his shepherds, those who are the 144,000, those elect and very elect, and those who are also guests of the wedding will all attend at the end of the millennium when there's the great white throne, and we all go to our final destination, which is the dowry. The dowry is a new heavenly earth, not this earth. This earth will be passed away. And then when it breaks down as we continue on, we'll see how far we get on this 15 minutes. It breaks down to not good things, which is after the golden calf incident. Because here, all the people say one, two, three times at least before Yeshua and Moses go up top of the mountain to write those 10 commandments on the stones. The people say, yes, we will hear and obey. So they did accept the proposal of marriage, and the covenant of that would be you would have to hear and obey, which they didn't do. So we start if verse 25 on chapter 22. If you lend money to one of my people among you who is needy, do not be like a money lender charging no interest. Do you see that today? Any of that today? There's a lot of things, some serious things here. For instance, verse 18, verse 18, verse 19. Do not allow a sorceress to live. Do anyone who has sexual relations with an animal must be put to death. Well, what is so serious about that, and why? Because what was just read to you about sorcery, which today is called pharmacies, people who control you through pharmacies, and your whole body is controlled through pharmacies. Now think about this. 75% of the people in the United States are dependent, they think, on pharmacies. Dependent, they think, on pharmacies. And the next sentence, someone has sex with an animal, we got to take them out? All right, let's figure it this way. More people have died. 50 million people died in World War II. I mean, just add up all the wars, horrible wars that have gone on, all the death and destruction. More people, a lot more people, have died from abortion alone. And a lot more people have died more than that from people having sexual relationships with animals and passing these diseases, which are called pestilence and famines and viruses that we're all talking about today. These still exist, and so many more people pass away based upon this kind of behavior than all the wars that have ever existed. So now is it important? Okay. Then it adds into another 20 or 30 Torah laws or ordinances, whatever you want to call them, that beyond the 10 commandments that you just heard. And all of them are really pretty good. And also some of and all of them should be still read today and understood and discerned. to compare to the 1,050 commands in the New Covenant. But just an example, chapter 23, verse 14, 3 times a year to celebrate a festival to me. That's easy. We just gave it to you. Passover, Shavuot, and the Fall Festival. Tabernacles. That's 3. And with them, then, those days are 7 days that are high holy days. No work. And you are to be together as believers. Now, if you add or subtract for that, you have a problem. And if you add to it, which a lot of people have, uh, now we have Hanukkah, and we have Purim, and we have other days that they have made holy days that are comparable to these days. The answer to that is no. And we'll go through that over and over again as we go through this word here. We celebrate the Feast of Harvest of the First Fruits. That comes during Passover, during the first week. It comes in the risen Yeshua, who rose on the 4th day. That is your first fruits. And we're to be, why? We're to be first fruits one day. So do not bow down before Elohims or worship them. That's 24. And from there, we get into chapter 24. Then he said to Moses, chapter 24, verse 1, and then he said to Moses, come up to Yahweh, you and Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, and the 70 of the elders of Israel. You are to worship at a distance. So there's a difference between Moses and Aaron and the rest of the elders and the priests. But Moses alone is to approach Yahweh. The others must not come near, and the people may come up with him. So this is all very strict. Follow my instruction. In other words, later on when you read all throughout the Bible, there's a certain picture that you're going to get. Later on, looking at chapters 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, it's all a description of a tabernacle and a sanctuary. Not made with cut stones, and very important, no steps going up to worship, lest your nakedness be shown. In other words, the priest's skirts looking underneath him. He didn't want you going up steps. Gee, that's exactly the way it was done with Solomon's temple. That's the way it was done with Nehemiah's. That's the way it was done with Herod's, and that's the way it was done with Herod's advanced temple that he continued on, which was a beautiful temple, evidently, during the time of Yeshua, when he was walking the streets of Jerusalem. But that's not what he asked for. So, in other words, the Father would rather you hear and obey him than for you to try to please him. He doesn't want to be pleased. He wants to be listened to and obeyed more than being pleased. Okay? Wow. When Moses went and told the people all these things, so Moses is going up, Moses is going down, Moses is going up. Will you keep it up with me? It's going to end up 10 times that Moses went up and down that mountain. Up that way, down that way. Not once or twice. As I was told, and everyone I know was told in Sunday school for years, and my parents and grandparents told me the same stories that they were told by somebody else who doesn't know what they're talking about, who wears a collar and walks around pious and blows smoke around and all this nonsense that's going on in churches today. Goodness sakes. Here's something very interesting when you're talking to Orthodox Judaism. This is a grand one. Well, now the Orthodox Jews say this. Oh, well, I understand we don't study the same Bible, and I have read your New Testament, but of course it's not true. And I don't read all of the Old Testament. I don't read all of that, which they don't, because it's offensive to them, like the book of Isaiah. The book of Isaiah, which is a mirror of Yeshua's life. That's why they don't read it, and a bunch of other books. And yet many of the people in my faith who calls them, unfortunately, Hebrew roots, there's like 30 different kinds of Hebrew roots, and about 8 or 9 of those 30 are out of their minds listening and paying attention to Orthodox Judaism, telling them what to listen to and what to read. Wow. That's, I waited almost 30 years and I'm doing this for the few people who read and listen to it and whatever I say, to say, this is unbelievable. This is stunning how stupid the sheep are to follow it. Because I was a sheep. I was stupid for 30 years listening to the wacko Christians on the things they make up and put in their doctrines. And then and then once they become institutionalized, it becomes a business. And then those on the other side, which is Orthodox Judaism, who are also out of their minds because nothing makes sense because it's not in the Word. So they tell me this. This is huge. This is why I brought this up. They say this. Well, we have oral law and we have oral understanding and we pay attention to the Talmud, which is all our wonderful rabbis who, the last couple thousand years, who wrote stuff down that was special oracles from God, and we pay attention to that. And you need to understand what these rabbis are trying to say, and we memorize this, we put it in our foreheads, we walk around like great big holy people. And no matter what you say in the Word and you read the Bible from us, it doesn't mean anything, because we got oral. Because Moses said a lot of things that he never wrote down. Okay, here we go. Are you ready? Here's your argument. Chapter 24, Exodus, verse 4. Now this says it more than once, but here it is. Moses then wrote down everything Yahweh told him. You mean, but that doesn't match what the rabbis say. No, it doesn't, does it? So why do you listen to them? They are to be jealous of you as you worship and pray to their Yahweh. That's how they are going to come and repent to the Father. It isn't the other way around, where you listen to them and you all go into a super heaven and the Jews are in charge of everything. Wrong. Wrong. 1,000 times wrong. All right. We continue on. So he, meaning Moses, got up early the next morning, built an altar at the foot of the mountain, and set up 12 stone pillars representing the 12 tribes of Israel, not from cut stone. And he made a sacrifice there. So down to verse 12, Yahweh said to Moses, "Come up to me on the mountain and stay here, and I will give you the tablets of stone." Here we are going up the mountain again. "With the law and the commands I have written for their instruction." Then Moses set out with Joshua, his aide, and Moses went up the mountain of Elohim. And he said to the elders, where we at, 13 minutes? He said to the elders, "Wait here for us until we come back to you. Aaron and Hur are with you, and everyone involved in a dispute can go to them." So Moses can't even get away without some argument going on, so he has to take care of that. So Moses went up from the cloud, and the people thought, as in part 16 it says, "For 6 days the cloud covered the mountain, and on the seventh day Yahweh called to Moses from within the cloud." So the people were thinking, oh, well, it's going to be a day or two, or most 6 days, and he'll be back. That's important because they were thinking the wrong thing as usual. Verse 18, Moses entered the cloud and went up the mountain. He stayed on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights, 40 being a time of testing. So Moses was being tested. No, he wasn't. No, Moses was not being tested. Neither was Joshua or Aaron. The people were. Chapter 25. Yahweh said to Moses, "Tell the Israelites to bring me an offering. You are to receive the offering for me from each man whose heart prompts him to give." And they started building the breastplate for Aaron and the priestly garments and all that stuff. That's where they are with that. But the point is, in the next part we're going to read, that'll be 66, which is important, kind of 66. When we do that, that's when things go terribly wrong. Terribly wrong. So, see you then.